So, hello guys. So I'm Magak Emmanuel, and what I'll be doing today, I just introduce what's GTT Gerald, then I'll introduce Juma, who will be speaking with us today. So GTT is Geekstock Thursday, which is a developer community which started way in 2016 in Eldoret. So yeah, it's just a community of developers to learn, engage, and share knowledge. And that's the website geekstockstudy.co.ke, and is brought to you by AppsLab. So what we always do every Thursday on the Geekstock Thursday is we do about introduction to development. We talk about, we do code labs. We have fireside chats about different tech topics. Talk about productivity, teamwork, and collaboration. We also do product reviews and product launchings. And we also discuss about open source. So other interesting activities to check out for Geekstock. Thursday is Fun Friday by Cody, which is also happens every bi-weekly on Friday. There's YouTube channels, and the trend currently is from within our communities in Kenya, guys are coming up with some YouTube channels, and we discover them day in. So far, for every sessions which happens in Geekstock Thursday, we always upload them 1 week after on the YouTube channel. So even for this session next week at a time like this, it will be live on YouTube. Those are interesting stuff. I just focused most for Android and what I also noticed Frank Tangra started some awesome series. This as an Android developer, you can consider checking that out. Then there's Android 254 Pen Bar, which happens every Friday 7:30 to 11 p.m. Just have talks about with individuals, their journey, how they do their code and stuff. Yeah. And also Android 254 Kotlin Kenya and Flutter Kenya. The events are back after a long period of time, so you can check these out in their respective groups. Then for Redcon KA, which didn't happen this year, there's Redcon EMEA, and with the link there, you can just follow the link and get to know more about that. So for Geekstock Thursdays, surely you can find us on YouTube for the videos of different sessions we do. Then for any code samples and there, and even for some group work, open source collaborations, you can always find them on GitHub organization Geekstock. Yeah, so today I'm very excited to host Juma Allan, who is an Android engineer, and I already introduced myself as the moderator of the day. I'm Magak Emmanuel, developer at AppsLab. So from this point, Juma Allan is going to talk about deep dive into Android engineer role. So from this point, I'll just stop sharing my screen and I'll introduce him, and we'll just continue from this point. So thank you guys, and welcome, and stay around for this awesome session. Thank you. So Juma, I think you can share your screen because you're already a co-host.
So sadly, I don't think I have any slides to actually present. So I think you could leave you can leave the page with the pictures as a background or something. So I just talk.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay. So hi everyone. So my name is Juma. I primarily work as an Android engineer. So at the moment, I just joined a new company on Monday. So the company is called Bring. So what they do is they're building banking software. So that means building mobile banking solutions for companies, the online banking, the banking platform in general. So that's what the company basically does. So I joined them on Monday as a senior Android engineer. So I think this is the first meetup I'm actually announcing my new workplace. So be talking about it later. Um, well, I'm excited about this. So I think today I just tried to talk about how my normal day looks like, how my week looks like, how my weekend looks like, and I think we can make this session a bit interactive. Yeah. So I mean, just like any dev out there. So I think I normally wake up in between 9 to 10 a.m. I kind of like sleep a bit late, so I'm not a morning person personally. So my day would typically start at like 9 or 10. I don't ever have breakfast in the morning. I think I'm kind of used to it. It's like a bad habit. So normally wake up at 9 or 10. So if I need to go to office, I mean, I'll take a shower. If not, there's this saying that wanaume wanaga uchafu. So I mean, I'll normally not take a shower in the morning if I'm not leaving my house. Um, so depending on so just to give you a little background about myself, I think I've worked for like 4 companies to date in like 2.5 years or something. Yeah. So my first job was at Twiga. So I worked at Twiga for 1 year. So that was between Feb 2018 to January in 2019. So in Feb I joined d.light again. So I worked at d.light for again another year. That was up to January this year. And then I joined Branch in Feb. So I worked at Branch for 2 months. So I've been taking a personal break from April to this month. So technically to last month until I started my new role. So having worked for different companies, I think my schedule kind of like has been changing a lot, but I just try to focus on how it would look for generally speaking about, I mean, depending on the companies I work for. So in the morning, I mean, after waking up, taking a shower, depending on if I need to go to the office on that day or not, I would take either my stand-up call at home. So that would be mostly in between 10:30 to around 11:30. That's the time zone where, I mean, that's the time where most stand-ups will be happening. And then, like I mentioned, so at Trigger, that was a full-time job. So I mean, you need to go to the office. So most times you take the stand-up in the office physically. So at d.light and at Branch and my new company, they're more flexible. So you can choose to work from home. So there's an option to take the stand-up call at home. And then after taking the stand-up call, I mean, you just update on what you've been working on the previous day. So for example, you're working on a task XYZ. So you give the team an update about what you've been working on, any challenges you're facing. Do you need help from someone on the team? Just to give the either your team or the whole engineering team in general an idea about what is it that you're working on. And then I kind of like to have it's not a work plan per se, it's kind of like what task am I going to work on today. So we're building this say an app, for example, maybe for whichever company it is. Sorry, I mean depending on where I'm working at that particular time. So I mean, because we normally work in sprints, so sprints are like 2 weeks intervals where you have a specific number of tasks that you need to deliver. So I kind of like I like to think about what should I work on today. Do I work on like anything authentication? Do I work on anything DB side? Do I need to work on app architecture? What do I need to focus on? So just having that thought or just planning that, not writing it down, but just having a visual idea about what I need to work on helps me plan my day properly so that I know after the stand-up call or if I start writing code right now, I'll be working on this specific task. So for me, I think that gives me that kind of focus that I need to because I know this is what I work on today, this is what I'll be working on tomorrow, and that gives me like a sense of planning-ish. So depending again on if I'm at the office or at home, I'll work on a specific task up to a couple of hours. So maybe up to lunch hour or at times up to late in the afternoon, just writing code. So that will be like a typical work day for me. And then I mean I'll take a break in between. So that means either lunch break or taking a walk or taking a same break. I mean to just look at your social media updates. So that's Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, just not writing code and just taking a break to do something on the side. So during the day, I'll still also take breaks in between code to just maybe read up on something. So an example is I'm working on like an architecture task example, and then there's something that I really don't understand. So I mean, I'll take kind of like a break from actually working on that specific piece of code and looking for either articles or videos or anything to kind of like give me an idea about like whatever I'm working on. So taking a break to kind of like understand that specific concept. Um, so I mean, during this period that I'm either writing code or on social media or just reading a blog on Medium, I'll be listening to music. So Magak will tell you I'm a big fan of Otile Brown and Diamond. They kind of like make fun of me. So I kind of like to listen to music a lot. I think in an idea to just focus on whatever it is I'm doing at that specific time. Um, and then that would be the case. I mean, the afternoon. So still working. If you're in the office, I mean, you're still writing code, cracking jokes with people. Uh, but the way it's kind of like it has been for me, I'm normally not that much productive during the day, so it would take me so much time to just work on a specific task, especially during the day. The reason is I'm almost always distracted. If I'm in the office, I'm talking to people, making jokes, and not really focusing on whatever it is that I'm doing. So in the evening, so I'll take a break again. Maybe go get supper. So for the bachelors in the room, I mean, people who don't cook or who don't know how to cook like me, so take a break, just go and get dinner or something. So I used to also take breaks and drive around, just go see a few friends. That was before curfew, so go visit someone up to like 10 or 11 in the at night, and then go back at home. Uh, so uh, I think from around 10 or 11 up to like 3 or 4 in the morning, that's like my work hours. That's when I'm normally like very productive and writing so much code. Um, so so between, I mean, during that night period, that's when I'm actually writing so much code, uh, learning a few things from a few blogs here and there. If you're working in a team that you need to do code reviews or review PRs and stuff, that's the time I'll do all these things. Um, Also consulting a few friends about specific topics. So for example, I'm trying to implement something and it's really not working for me. I mean, that's the time I'll reach out to a few people I know that stay late hours like me and try to get them to reason with me and try to explain like a specific concept to me, or just give me an idea about that specific thing so I can get an understanding. Is it, am I doing it the right way or am I not doing it the right way? And then I also used to try to contribute to open source projects. I can't say I do that a lot right now. So that's the time I'll be looking at all these things. So if I have an open source project that I'm contributing to, that's the time I'll focus my energy and time to just write that code or just do the contribution. I'm also, I think, a big fanatic of a few series that I follow. I'm watching movies. So I can't say I like write code every day till late, because I mean, there are a few days I spend just watching movies or just watching some series that I will still do even during the day. So just having that flexibility of working in 2 week sprints, make sure, I mean, it it gives you like the power, the ability to just plan for your 2 weeks. So I'm sure I have 2 weeks to work on 3 tasks. So I don't have to finish everything on Monday. So I can actually spend the whole of Monday or Tuesday evening or even during the day just watching some movies. Just, I mean, just trying to find a balance. And then depending on what uh, day it is of the week, I normally have friends come over my place. Some of you on this call, I mean, have come to my place maybe for a few days, for a weekend. So that means you're not writing code, but you're just chilling with friends at your place, either playing FIFA, watching movies, or some of you drinking. I mean, just kind of having that social life. So it's not always about writing code or being on your laptop, but just having friends come over, crack jokes, and talk. I can see Bukachi on the chat. Yeah, so Otile, I think if you listen to Otile a lot, code becomes, I think, a bit interesting. I think so. So that's that. I mean, that's typically what happens like daily for me. And then depending on if you're working maybe as a person, sorry, I mean if you work, because I think I've worked in companies where I worked as a single engineer, like you're the only person working on a specific project, so you don't have to consult anyone. And then I've had the chance to work in a team, so you're working in a team with like 2 or 3 engineers working on the same project. So uh, even after stand up, you'll be most likely to have sync calls between you and the team members, just to get an idea about what is someone working on, so that you don't have like conflicts when you're like contributing to the same project. So I think that's normally what would happen in my like day-to-day life. um, so that's mostly when I used to work at d.light and at Trigger. And then so I joined a very interesting team in Branch. So Branch has a very big engineering team, but all the engineers sit in San Francisco. So if you're in Nairobi and a team is working in SF, that means you have like a 10-hour difference. So you're actually ahead of time. So if it's like 8 p.m. Nairobi time, SF is like 10 hours behind. So working with that kind of a team means your day gets a little bit shifted. So if most of you have worked probably for Andela, you may have partners that are you may have partners that actually in the like West Coast or different time zones, and that means your day will not be starting in the morning, like working for Kenyan company. So at Branch, I used to work from 5 p.m. So that's in the morning in the safe side, and then I will work all the way up to 11 p.m. So that means if I normally would get my dinner, I would either prepare to do that a bit early, so that during work hours you're not unavailable. So and the beauty with most teams I've worked for, they don't really enforce you being there like 8 to 5 or 5 to 11. It's just being available for your call. So say I have a call at 8 p.m. I just need to plan my time well and make sure I don't miss the call and just give a random excuse like I want to get dinner or something. Um, so just having a clear timetable about what I need to work on, what I need to do, and just making sure uh, that my personal life doesn't kind of like mess up with whatever I'm doing at work. So that's typically I think a normal day for me. And then weekends. So I think during weekends, so before COVID, I think most Saturdays were either could have a meetup. So so normally so normally attend 100 meetups because that's what I do professionally. And then on the side, I also do Go, and I happen to lead the Nairobi Go community. So depending on what's happening on that day, I'll be either on a sorry, I'll be either on any of the meetups that's happening, and then so I kind of meetups are like a very common thing for me, maybe for most of you out there. So that's when you kind of like meet many people face to face. So it's an Android meetup. I'm sure I'll be meeting with Harun. I'll be meeting with a specific person, Jabez, for example, Eton. So just Obukachi. I mean, for me, so Saturdays are like community days. So it could be any specific event, and just create time to attend that event. Um, Depending on maybe if it's a Saturday or Sunday, I sometimes hang out with friends, just eat choma, which is not really that common for me, but it happens once in a while. Um, and then maybe what else do I need to even mention? Uh, so I kind of, for me, I think I love eating a lot. So that would be most days. I don't think I'll go like 3 days without eating chicken. Two actually. So I think for me, uh, I can't say for me alone, but I think food is like a very common thing for everyone. So um, just planning, not planning really, but uh, having having how do I even put it? Just planning for your time and uh, out of your schedule, out of your code life, and taking time to either go eat, meet with friends, catch up. I don't go to movies a lot, so I'll be watching movies at my house. Um, what else do I do? Um, so just I think that's normally what I mean typically like a normal day for me, a normal weekend for me looks like. Now talking about being an Android engineer, so what is I mean what's expected of you? So um, I think normally what would happen for I mean what's required for you as an Android engineer is number one, I think it's when you're planning for your tasks or for your sprints, you need to be able to understand the problem, or rather what needs to be built, and just being able to estimate or like give an idea about how much time will it take to work on this task. So from what I've seen working in different teams, I think that approximation mostly varies depending on experience level. So I'll give you an example. So a specific task to maybe build out a small feature would take someone a day if he's really good in whatever he's doing. And then the same specific piece of code or task would take someone 3 days. So in the teams that I work for, the approximation or rather the sprint planning and the task that you get mostly vary on your seniority level. So something that's very tough will be given to someone who's a bit more experienced, and some tasks will actually be split between two people. So that way, as an engineer, gives you like a chance to work on what you can handle, so that you don't get tasks that overwhelm you or something. And then at the same time, it gives you an idea. It gives you that ability to efficiently plan for your time. So if I have 3 days to work on this task and then I have another 2 days to work on a specific task, that means by a week I should be able to cover the two tasks. So that really keeps you uh, not really keeps you, but helps you to manage your time properly. So apart from writing code, I mean, there's that aspect about looking at a task and being able to approximate how much time, how much level of effort is required for that. Um, Something else that's required from for you. So depending on the company again and the team that you're working with, you'll be doing code reviews. So code review means so Magak, an example, Magak has been working on a specific task, and before we merge that code or to maybe our develop branch or just to create a before we do a release, we might some companies have this provision where you and Magak or Magak and someone else on the team. Sorry, someone else on the team reviews what Magak has written, like the code, just to make sure maybe you're following the practices that you've set up as a team, or just to have someone give the ideas or their opinion about a specific task. So code reviews will be part of the process too. And I think at branch, code reviews are very common. So you spend so much time doing code reviews for the whole team. Um, and that really means you just need to balance your tasks and your code reviews, because when you're planning for work that needs to be done in like 2 weeks, no one factors in code reviews as much. So you get I mean flexible time. So the an example, sorry. So someone will plan for 2 weeks sprint, which is like 10 days, and then give you work for 9 days. So giving you a buffer of a day. So that day will be split in between documenting code, um, reviewing PRs and all these things, and code reviews and pair programming sessions. All these things I mean come in daily. And then number two, apart from writing code, there's also documentation. And like I said, this really varies with the company. So the place I just joined right now, they have these steps where you need to um where you need to there's like not a there's like a handbook for like an engineering handbook. So that handbook kind of like defines what you need to do on a daily basis. So code documentation is one of the things that's required from you. So as you keep on writing code, I mean, there's something else on the side. You need to document what your code is doing, so that maybe someone else on the team is joining in, they're able to understand what this specific piece of code is doing, what are parameters I need to provide, and what's the response. And then apart from writing code comments, there's also documenting code. So that's more like writing technical documents. So at d.light, for example, so we're working on this project, and then working on a big project means you're making so many engineering decisions. And the way to easily onboard someone on the team is just making sure you have an up-to-date technical manual or technical documentation. Try to do that really, but I can't say it's the best documentation out there because I think most devs hate writing documentations. But I think writing documentation is like part of your daily role, just to give someone an idea about why did you make these key engineering decisions and why. Just trying to explain your thought process to someone so that if you're onboarding someone on the team, they're able to jump in on the team, see what you're working on, and just understand. So that's I think that's something that will be part of your role as an Android engineer. And then the other thing is I think interviewing new candidates for a specific role. So I haven't been in a panel where I'm interviewing someone, but I think that will be part of your daily role depending on your seniority level again. So the company is trying to hire in someone like a new engineer, and then so if someone is coming in, maybe depending on the company, there are different interviewing steps. Maybe you do a screening test, so that will be done maybe by the HR, and then there's a first technical test. It could be oral or something. So someone on the team, an engineer or a lead or someone would do that call. So depending on your role again as an engineer or an Android engineer, that means you partake in that specific interview. So it could be by either reviewing someone's code or doing a pair programming session or code review with someone. So I think that will fit in your daily role. So like I said, I haven't done that before, but I think that's something that would actually come in as well. Let me see. Give me something here. I think that's pretty much it. So, is there a framework for documentation? I don't think there's a framework for documentation. I'm not so sure. I can't lie. So I think it depends with what documentation you're asking. So there's a code documentation. So I think that depending on the language that you're writing, I think there are specific guidelines on how you need to write code comments or documentations. And then if it's a technical documentation, I can't say I know a framework that something. I really don't think there's a format for that. But I think just to give an idea about what should be in a technical document, I think number one, you need to give like a uh, I think you need to give like a like the solution, sorry, like a problem statement. So you'd say you're trying to achieve this. So at d.light, an example, what you're trying to achieve is we wanted to build one app that will be used in 35 markets, but that one application has like 7 different functionalities internally. The way it works in Kenya is not the same way it works in Tanzania or Uganda. So that's a problem. And then the solution is how do you solve this? So you can say we opted to use dynamic feature modules. Why? Because we can ship them separately and we can customize them per region. And then just giving that as a solution to the problem. Now you go in deeper details to explain how you do it. So that means you writing about like think of it this way, like trying to explain your thought process how you write that code to someone who's not an engineer. So an example, I'll say we opted to do this because of this and this, using Kotlin as a language, and then this is how we do DI. So if someone is reading that documentation, they will have an idea about what's going on in the code. Even without looking at the code, someone will understand what you're trying to achieve and what's the problem you're trying to solve. So if someone reads that documentation, they should just dive into the code and understand. And if they need to make changes or suggestions, they'll be, I mean, it's easy for them to do that. So how do you handle context switching, especially working from home? Um, Interesting. So working from home and switching. Okay, so like I said earlier on, I think for me, I normally write code a lot during the night. So that means I think 90% of my productive code is normally not written in the office. So that will be written at home at night. Um, so then for me, really, there's no context switching per se. I think as long as I'm comfortable just writing code, I think for me, it doesn't really matter if I'm in the office, at home, in a cafe, with friends. I think for me it's kind of like seamless. So I like to tell people, don't think of your job as your job. Think of it like a learning process. So if you think work has work, you don't have that psych to work past 5. So someone will just focus on their job from 8 to 5 and then say, I can't work anymore. But if you're open and you think of your job as your hobby or something, so you'll be learning something new at 12 a.m. and you're actually trying to like put that experience or something into your work code. So I think for me, there's really no context switching. But I've seen um, people who like work from home at days and then work in the office. I've seen people just have like not a timetable per se, but just try to say, if I'm working from home today, I'll commit this time to work and then I don't work for the rest of the time. So it really depends with the person, but I think for me it's more open. So I would actually start working on a Sunday, and then on Monday I'm not really that much productive. So for me, I think there's no context switching. Um, yeah. Uh, so I think that was what I wanted to share about this. So I think I can take in questions. We can make this session a bit interactive. So anyone with a question can either throw it on the chat or unmute and just ask.
Yeah, I have a question. When starting out, like it takes a lot to grasp concepts. Sometimes you need like more time, or sometimes you just need like somebody to explain it to you, maybe a human or just something that's not YouTube or Stack Overflow, GitHub. But when you want to reach out to this person, they're like really busy, and they may not have time to like answer you back straight away or even review the code you've written to tell you like better approaches to it. What do you do in such situations?
So for me, I think I have different people that I actually reach out to. So I think the word recommend that is So I give you an example. So in a single day, I'll get like 10 people asking me about something. So I mean, I don't have time to reply to everyone. And then so the way I actually the way I would advise you is don't get someone who is unavailable for you. So I mean, in your peer groups, or I mean, if you're working at work, or I mean, whatever it is you are. I mean, you have that small peer group. For example, I know if I reach out to Aaron, maybe in a few hours you'll be able to get back to me. So if I'm stuck, I'll reach out to Aaron. I think another thing I found is so there's this initiative by Eton. I don't know if he's on the call. Just bringing a few people on board and just getting a specific time of the week. So it doesn't matter if someone is not available. I mean, today or tomorrow, you can actually set up with someone and say, "Can I book you next week on Friday?" So just doing like a proper planning so that you don't inconvenience someone because, like you said, people are not available to look at your code every day or just do a pair programming session with you. But you can actually do like a pre-plan. I can tell you. On Thursday, let's meet for an hour. We could do this call online. If you're having a meetup on Sato, can we have like 30 minutes and you can explain so that you explain this concept to me. So I think planning to do that is something that I found to be a bit useful. So like yesterday, I had a call with Haron that we had planned for last week. So you let someone know I need help on this specific part, and then plan for it in advance. So I think that's a solution to that kind of a problem.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's helpful. Thanks.
So someone else with a question.
Another question. What technologies or what frameworks are you supposed to know, like for an average Android engineer, or even an incoming one?
What do you need to know? So I think at the moment I would say so starting with the language you need to learn Kotlin. So Kotlin has kind of like become a bit popular even in local companies. So most JDs would look for experience in Kotlin. So even if you're a beginner, um, what else do you need to know? Just a few basics in app architectures. So at the moment, I think MVM, MVI is becoming more popular. So even if you're a junior dev, just having an idea about those two, and then I'd say Jetpack components because they're becoming like the building blocks for most Android teams. So just understanding what is live data, ROMDB, all these components that come in Jetpack. So that I would say that those are like the minimum things you need to understand, and then just having an idea about tests. So if it's a junior role, I don't expect you to have so much experience in writing tests, but just the things I just mentioned. If I'm missing something, please someone can jump in and add something that I could be missing. But I think for a junior role, just having an idea or some basic knowledge in Kotlin, not so shallow. And then architecture is something that someone would think about because assume if you join a team, you probably get some code base written in a specific architecture in Kotlin. And as a junior engineer, you just need to come in on board and just be familiar with the concepts or um, with the technology that the team is using and just being able to get on board easily.
Yeah, a follow-up question. Is just writing front-end code for like Android development, that's XML and Kotlin enough, or do you need to know how to do some back-end if you're interviewing for a junior role, say writing REST APIs or something like that?
Uh, I don't think I don't think knowing how to write REST APIs really would be a requirement for a junior role, especially as an Android engineer. But I've seen people. So an example is I joined Branch. So my role was more like an Android role, but with time, you actually get some tasks allocated to you. So for a junior role, I would say no, but for a mid-level or a senior engineer, I would say yes. Just understanding what's happening in the backend because I've seen like I'm trying to give you an example. So at Branch, I got a few tasks, not so many, but so there's a specific task on Android that requires you to do some changes on the backend. So just getting on the team and depending on what language they're writing for the backend, you might uh, be needed to have an idea about that specific kind of a stack that they use. So an example is I had to learn a few things about Ruby just to get an issue on Android just fixed. Or if you join so most teams or most Android teams, if you're actually say like building something and you're testing locally on a machine, so it, it could be a good thing to just have that backend set up on your local machine so that you are able to just alongside a backend that's running on your local machine. So I'd say for mid-level or senior role, you just need to have an idea about how the backend works so that you're able to set it up on your local machine and get started. But for a very junior role, I don't think that's really a major requirement because someone on the team would help you achieve the same. Was I speaking? So
Juma,
yep,
you have a couple of questions on the chat.
on the chat. Okay, sorry,
Yeah.
let me look at that. So which tools do you use to learn Android? So for me, I think most of the new concepts that I actually learn right now, I'm learning them from GitHub projects. So many open source projects. That's why I get different ideas and blogs. So Medium is one of those blogs, and a few blogs that belong to different Android engineers. An example is this guy Jordan Moores. He has a very nice Android blog where he writes about um, most things, but they're not beginner-ish. They're more like high, mid-level to senior level kind of things. So just interacting with different projects or different, actually most projects on GitHub from most people give you like different ideas about solving the same problem. So an example is so David Odari has this nice repo on GitHub which really tries to cover about the MVVM architecture, using dependency injection and writing tests. So for me, just looking at different repos and repos out there gives me um, um, new things to learn. And then working in teams and working with different people also is a good place to learn. So an example is while I was at d.light, Eton joined as an Android engineer. So he came in with like so many different ways of doing things. So for me, that's more like a learning process. And then I went to this other new company, and then they're doing this the same. Maybe they're trying to solve the same problem, but using different technologies or different ways. So even working in teams is a good place to learn. Um, Great presentation. Thanks, Jabez. Which online materials? So if you're a beginner, there's a channel by Mitch. I think it's called Coding with Mitch. So he has yeah, I think it's Coding with Mitch. So for beginners, I think that's a good place. I think he has like a whole playlist about Kotlin, a whole playlist about Intro to Android. I think most of his beginner courses are actually free, and then once you transition to a mid-level or a senior role, he has advanced um, lessons. I think they're not free; they're actually paid. I mean, if you work in a company able to afford free things for personal growth. Um, Other materials I think that I use are actually humans. So an example is if you need to learn about testing, Michael Bukachi is a good example for that. So if you need to learn about most things, Kotlin, Jabez, Eton are good resources, and Harun. So even having peers that you feel are good in a specific things are good places to learn. So not only reading blogs and watching videos, even just having peers that you learn from. So why did you change so many jobs? Um, that's a tough question. Anyway, just to try and answer, there's no specific reason why. Most people would say it's money. Maybe that's true. I can't say yes or no. But I think hmm. So when I left Twiga to join d.light, that was more like a higher. That was a higher. How do you say it? Just to that was to switch roles and just jump from a junior to like a senior role, and then there's the money part, and then leaving d.light to join branch. For me, that was a personal decision. Like I said, I mean, there are teams that you join and then you don't fit in perfectly well, or it doesn't work out for you, and then you just try to look for other options. So I think that was the major reason I started looking for another opportunity while I was at d.light. And then I think at branch, the COVID thing really affected the business, so they did a layoff. So that's 3 jobs in 2 years, and then this is me on my fourth job right now. Hopefully, I'll stay a little bit longer. Yeah, just to answer you. How do you test an application and know it's ready for the market? I think working in teams, I can tell you for sure. I don't think an app is ever ready for the market. So you just need to have an MVP. So that's the most minimum viable product. I think that's the name. So if you're building like a delivery app, is it able? Can someone order? Can someone instruct the order, and does it get delivered to the person? So that's the minimum thing that that app should do. Then at that point, I mean, it's ready for the market. And then most of the improvements or most of the additions are actually done after you ship out the first product. So you realize that with WhatsApp. I mean, WhatsApp as an engineering team to date. So WhatsApp has stories, WhatsApp has statuses, WhatsApp has all these things, chats about replying to threads and something. But when WhatsApp started, all these features were not there. So I don't think there's ever like a right time to ship that app. But as long as it achieves the minimum requirements, then it's ready for the market. And then that's why now you keep on building on top of what you shipped out. So I don't think there's ever a time it's ready for the market, because if it hits the market, the newer changes that will come in. Harun can tell you for sure. They've been building software for clients. And every time after you ship out this, you need to work out on something else. Yeah, Google Code Labs. I haven't used Google Code Labs a lot, but I've seen them. They're very detailed, and I'll say they even give you a sample project and walk through. So yeah, I would say code labs are also a good place to learn. So someone else with a question.
Okay, so how do you go about responsiveness? Like, do you start with a mobile version or do you just how do you unafanyaje?
So responsiveness. So um so when I used to work at Twiga, so Twiga was actually building an app specific for one type of device. So Twiga as a company, they needed the app for internal use. So the company used to provide like a specific device to employees. So as an Android engineer makes your work easier. You just need to focus on making that app work for that specific device. And then joining d.light now you're building a product for different markets. So uh, I didn't do that, and I am sure to date they're not doing that. But Android has this easy way that you're able to build one app, one code base, and then you're able to make it support different form factors. So there's a provision by Android where you're able to build different layouts for different types of fonts. So Android has this classification depending on the density pixels. So you have like a medium, high, and extra high. So you can actually build out different UIs for I think those different form factors, and then gives you also an option to build out for a tablet UI if you need to support tablets. And then it also gives you an option to build the same UI in portrait and in landscape. So an example is I think on Samsung devices, if you use the messaging app on portrait, it's normally like WhatsApp. And then if you rotate the phone on landscape, they split it into two. So just, I mean, that's like an example. I don't know if they really do that, but Android gives you that ability to define the same layout and then make it look different depending on either the phone or the layout of the device. So you can actually build like an app and then give it different UIs depending on the phone or the phone or the device or the layout that that device is in at that specific time. So it's normally so much work, and I don't think many people do that. So most of us just write one UI. If it works, it works. So, but that's, I mean, that's how you do it.
Okay, and what framework do you use to make sure it's responsive?
Sorry, what?
What framework do you use
What from
for the responsiveness?
for the responsiveness? Um,
Yes.
ah, I I don't have a framework that I use for for that, but I think someone would say uh, if you're writing if you're building an app that needs to support different form factors, someone would tell you to write UI test to make sure that UI works well on different form factors. I think that would be the best way to do it. Because the other option would be just testing that UI on like 1,000 different devices. And I don't think that's the best way to do it.
Thank you.
So anyone else with a question for me?
Yeah, I just have a question.
Okay.
Hi, Juma. Yeah, do you think it's a good practice maybe when you're stuck?
Hi.
Hello, hi,
Yeah.
can you get me? Yeah, do you think it's a good practice when you're stuck trying to debug a code? What is the, do you think you're just supposed to spend days trying to debug, or which are the best steps you normally take for you to make sure your code is working perfectly?
So being stuck on a specific piece of code or just trying to fix a solution. So I think I normally take a break from that specific task. So if it takes me so much time to just accomplish something or put it on hold and try to work on something else. Another thing I'll do is because because I mean so you're trying to achieve something in so say an example I'm trying to inject like something using using Quain or using Dagger, and then it doesn't work. So if I'm stuck there, I would try to work on something else, or I would actually consult someone that I know will be in a better position to give me an idea. So it doesn't mean sharing that specific piece of code that I'm working on, but just trying to recreate the same problem and then sharing it with someone, and then telling that someone to, could you please get some time to look at this for me, or help me. Or if you're working on a team, you could actually ask someone in the same team to try and look at that, because someone else will be maybe have a different way, or maybe the solution to the problem that you have. So just communicating with someone either on the team or outside the team, it's something that I would do. So what tools do you use to clean up your code? So I think Harun is the most experienced with this. So Harun, if you want to jump in and answer this, we'll be very happy.
Okay, let me. So for code cleanup, we have a couple of tools. One, we have the tools that maybe check on how you're utilizing maybe some of the best practices and all those. That is maybe linting. And for linting, I'd recommend we have, maybe for Android, mostly, we have KT-lint. So KT-lint is one that looks at how you're formatting your code. Maybe how many methods do you have in a file? How many have you exited? Like, we have a line that is drawn on Android Studio. Maybe in case your code maybe is beyond that. So such warnings, maybe they just enable like your code to be much readable and all that. We have another tool called detect. So detect Kotlin and maybe Java. I'm not sure if it works on Java, but Kotlin is a statically typed language. So what detect does is just like looks at code smells. They're called like code smells, and it runs over through your code base and gives you like, let's say you are using something, you have a method with a long method name. It tells you this method has a long method name. Or in case you are using, let's say a method has just one return type, or maybe just one line, you can use an expression instead of just adding the braces and all that. So it kind of detects all those code smells that can make your code not maybe readable or make it hard maybe a few years down the line. So it's a very great tool, and also it actually helps you to learn more about Kotlin. So that is about formatting. Another thing is you can also add maybe, let's say, a rate and program rules to just help your release build to just like, in case there are some codes that are not like being used, it will maybe just help, just remove them and maybe reduce the overall effect on your application. So just that is just to mention on the few, but linting really helps in terms of cleaning code. And we also have the Android Studio versions of these plugins in case you don't want to set them up on Gradle, where in the moment you're writing the code, it tells you that this line maybe underlines with a wavy line, where you can just know on the fly, and just helps you to keep your code very clean. And also another thing is just running over the code, as Juma has mentioned, over your peers or maybe someone to review it and tell you maybe this can be done in a much better way or something of the sort.
So yeah, just to summarize what Harun was talking about, there are a few plugins that will help you do that. So you mentioned KT-Link, Detect, so help either in cleaning up or detecting code smells or these things. And then there's a shortcut on Android Studio, depending on the machine that you're using. I think it's Control-Alt, Shift K or something. So it kind of like reformats your code. Or if you're having a CI setup for your project, if you're working in a big organization, I think you can actually automate so much of this process. Yeah, so Jabez just mentioned that the cleanup functions. So I think if you actually even use Android Studio to commit your code, there's an option to clean up code. So if you press on Command K or Control K, if you're committing that code, on the right side there's an option that you can check before that commit. Android Studio will do the cleanup for you. So there's that option. And then if you're doing so at branch, because you do PRs, and PRs have to be reviewed before they're merged. So that means you need to format your code in a specific way. So before every commit, they expect you to format the code in a specific format or something. And then, so how do you keep up? Sorry, one sec. So, um, how do you keep up with emerging trends? Do you use Jetpack Compose yet? So I don't use Compose yet. I've experimented with it just to build something small. I know people who experiment a lot with these new technologies. Haron again is one of them. He always runs on the latest Android Studio, just trying out new features. So I think that's depending on if you're working or you're not working. So if you're like working in an environment that's very demanding, then it means you don't have so much time to experiment on these new technologies. Um, and then, sorry, one sec. I'm trying to read this. Uh, so how do you keep up with this? So I think there's a if you follow the Android dev handle on Twitter, they normally post a lot about newer things that they're working on. So that's one good place to just know or just get an idea about what the Android team is working on. And then I think they also have a Medium page that they actually write a lot about things they're working on. So there are two good places to keep up with all these new technologies that the Android team is working on. So as a senior developer, you get to a point where you write command scripts. Um, I think yes. So another like a good example to explain about this is so if you're setting up CI, so CI is continuous integration, and you want to automate specific things. So if someone say if you like merge your feature branch to a develop branch, so that means you're trying to like ship out a specific feature. So you can actually automate that process where you like build a QA APK. So that means writing shell scripts at some point. Um, and if your team has a DevOps engineer, then you'll be more fit to do that for the team. If if not, I think that will be the role of the senior engineers in the specific Android team. So it's a yes or no. So depending on the team. Um, how does one get a mentor for the self-taught devs? So I think getting a mentor is, I think um, Magak actually said something very powerful about this. I think on a fun Friday or something. So he said, you need a mentor and a role model. So a role model is someone who you don't have access to. So I'll say I want to be as good as Val, for example, but because I know she's never available to just answer my daily questions, I mean, just to help me every day, I'll get a someone like a peer who is my level. So if you know how to build like a basic Android application, then I think the mentor that you're looking for is someone who can build something a little bit better than you. Um, and in most cases, they'll be available to help you. And how do you get these people? I think the best way to get them is through the community. So I personally know most people through communities. So I met Harun through, I think, the Android community, Michael, same thing, Eton, same thing, Jabez, same thing. So communities are really powerful, and that's how you get to meet with different people and know what are their strengths, and just having an idea that if I need help on something, I'll be able to consult a specific person. So just to answer your question, through communities, I think that's the best place to actually get a mentor and a role model. Um, what's your take on Flutter for anyone developing mobile apps? Um, I I don't think I have anything against Flutter really, but what I will say is so I normally say this. So if you read a lot of engineering blogs, there's a very nice blog by Dropbox. No, sorry, is it Dropbox? Yeah, I think Dropbox, and they explain how they built their first mobile apps in C++. So that was more like a cross-platform approach. So that will answer the Flutter or React Native. So I'm trying to answer this as one question. So initially Dropbox was written in C++. So just to have a cross-platform app that works on iOS and works on Android. And then Airbnb did the same thing, but they used React Native. So they built the initial apps, the iOS and Android React Native, so cross-platform. And then they actually wrote nice articles about whether to switch to write them in native code. So they rate about the pros and the cons. But I think what I normally know about these cross-platform tools that they're like really they're faster to ship out a product, but in the long run, I think it makes sense to just go native. So those two blogs will give you enough context for that. And then I think the other thing, it depends with where you work. So an example is so at branch, for example, they're only targeting an Android app. So it really doesn't matter if you guys are using Flutter or just Kotlin or Java, because at the end of the day, the company needs one Android app. They really don't need an iOS app, and that's how the company is focused. Like so now looking at the team and uh, what the company is looking for. Um, so the preference would actually fall with the engineering team. So I mean, someone in the engineering team can say, let's rewrite the whole app in Flutter, so that even if it's 5 years down the line, the same code base will actually ship an iOS app. So it really depends with the team or what you're working on. So that's a very tough question to actually answer. But I think those two blogs will give you enough context. And then I think the other thing you need to really think about is just looking at the job market, because an example is today or not start learning C sharp, because most opportunities out there are not looking for C sharp engineers. So focus my energy on say Python or Scala. So the other thing is I think just looking at the market and where you want to work. So if you're like focusing to work in Kenya, are there so many Flutter roles available, or should I just focus on Kotlin because most people are looking for Kotlin engineers? So even the market will determine that a lot. So it's a very generic question, but unless someone has something to add to that.
Hello, Juma.
Hello.
Yeah, it's a question. Thank you
Yeah.
for this opportunity. I just wanted to ask, in your journey as a dev, ever since you started, have you ever worked on a project and it seems like it's really getting into your nerves and you felt like giving up or just leaving it aside? Or or if you gave up on it, what did you learn about your next move on how to tackle such a block? Or if you didn't give up and you felt or you reached to a point you almost felt like giving up, what did you do to ensure that you keep on track? Because many dev start working on some things when it gets really tough, people give up, and that's how it becomes hard. So how can you advise on that?
So so to answer your question, I think if you're like trying to learn, I'd say break up whatever you're learning into smaller bits. So that makes learning a bit more interesting. So spin up a new project and you're trying to test dependency injection using coin. Just make sure that project is just focused on one thing. So it doesn't really expand to so many things to a point it gets boring and very tough for you to understand. So that will mean you're able to like learn so many things using small projects that don't really grow into big projects that you like need to abandon in the future. And then have I ever gotten to a point I was like really tired or exhausted about it? Yeah, I have. That was a while back when I used to do some freelance jobs aside. So just having a normal job and then trying to take a freelance job. And I think the reason was most clients out there would like need you to build something and then just have a like a very short time span to have everything delivered. So for me, I think there's no task that is really hard for you to work on if there is enough time to work on it. So I think personally, what I came to learn after the whole process was just trying to focus on work and not take so many freelance projects or not work on them at all. So personally, I never work on any freelance project because I feel they really push me to the limit, and then at times it makes you get tired. So if you're working normally like on an like a full-time job, like I said, you normally work in sprints, like 2 week sprints. So during like a sprint planning, someone would say, we're going to work on 3 tasks. So Juma will work on 3 tasks for 2 weeks. And then sprints actually allow you to roll over your tasks. So as much as I have the three things I need to work on. It doesn't mean I need to like achieve them in 2 weeks. It means if I'm not able to like achieve the three things in like 2 weeks, there's an option for me to spill over the task to the next sprint. So I think it's kind of like having that mental balance and um, just trying to balance your deliverables so that you're not like uh, trying to deliver something in a very short time span. And I think I mentioned about learning just trying to break up things into smaller tasks, and then using GitHub to like document your work out there and show it. And then if you're actually working with a mentor and some of the things that you're trying to learn get stuck, then you can have someone come in and collaborate with you on the same project. It kind of like makes it a little bit more interesting to learn new things. So that's something I've actually come to see. Any other question? Am I still on the call? I think so. Yeah. Anyone with another question, please feel free.
So, sorry, let me just ask, has your app ever gone to web, or have you ever tried doing web, or have you ever even considered doing web development?
Sorry?
Have you ever considered doing web development,
Have I-
or has your app ever gone to that stage of web app?
Have I ever considered web development? No. So for me, so I tried to learn the basics of web. So that's HTML, CSS. They're really painful for me. So that idea about doing web, especially front end, I don't think it's something that has ever crossed my mind. Though I had this idea about trying to learn a front end framework, React to be specific, I think I stopped. So I don't think I'll really focus on learning front end web. And then backend, I think that's something interesting. That's something I mean, that's something I was actually considering like a career switch. If I was ever to stop doing Android stuff, I will actually transition to a backend engineer. So like on the side, I write Go mostly for fun. But at Twiga, so while working at Twiga, I built a payment system. So that was purely in Go. I think it's been running for the last 2 years or so. So I mean, yeah, if switching to web means writing backend, that would be something interesting for me. As any app that I've built used WebView, no. So I've been working in teams where you're trying to provide the native Android experience to the users. So that means instead of using WebView to deliver something, so that had to be focusing on creating the same but as a native experience. So WebView, no. But I worked in teams, especially at Branch, where we're able to build really interesting UIs. So I'll call them dynamic UIs or something. So where you define your UIs as components, and the app is able to render them on the fly. So if something changes on the form, so like on the registration form, you need to collect, say, someone's first name, last name, and then email. So if two ways you could do that: either load a web view, and then if any of the forms change, you just as the app reloads the web view, that view would change. Or you can actually try to build the same experience natively, but have the app build the UIs on the fly. So I think I've worked in teams where you kind of like aim as much as possible to provide that in a native experience, not in a web view format.
So Alan,
yeah.
You have been quoting GitHub a lot, and my question is,
yep.
Normally you'll have this idea you want to do, and somebody has done it and posted it on GitHub.
Yeah.
And then you want to use that library in
Yeah.
your commercial project. So what do you recommend? Do you recommend somebody adding somebody's library into their project of which is commercial and they can use it? Or do you recommend that, like, how do you go about it, especially the legal part of it? I've seen guys on the markdown, they've written the policies and the permissions for the libraries they've published on GitHub. Like, I don't know if you get the question, but it's something to do with the legal part of using somebody's work in your project.
Yeah, I get the part. So I think most libraries are actually under the Apache license. So I think one thing you need to understand or really know about open source libraries is what kind of a license they use. Because I think most of them either use the MIT or the Apache library. And I think what they say is this code is free for use, either commercially or on a personal level. So so most of the libraries that are actually out there and very popular are actually licensed under that. And I think most of the projects that I've actually come across to have that kind of a licensing. So that I think the whole idea or really the whole GitHub thingy with open source projects is someone can read the best piece of code or the best library out there and then share it with people, not for monetary value. So I think just to answer your question, I think you just need to focus on what kind of a license does that, what kind of licensing is used for that project, because that gives you an idea about if I use this commercially, do I get sued or not? So, and I think because Android is really, sorry, because of Android being open source, I mean, there are so many people are building interesting libraries that you can use. So I'm sure if one doesn't allow you to commercialize it, there's an alternative that is actually free. So I think you just need to focus on the licensing part. Is it free for use or not? I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I just wanted to understand the legal part of it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Alan.
Yeah.
I have actually joined in late. So my question is, like, you have worked in top companies. How do these companies help new talent adapt to the environment?
A good question. Okay. So how do they help new talent to adapt? So I think most of these top companies are really competitive, to be honest. So that means joining a new team in a company X puts you in a really hot spot because you really need to perform. So so the way I answer that question, I'd say is depending on the company, but I mean from personal experience, what I've seen is especially at branch, they're really heavy on pair programming sessions. So they would really help you in like getting up to speed on maybe the code base or the solution or sorry or the problem that you're trying to solve and just giving you ideas. So I've seen companies just try to invest either so much time in juniors or most companies will have a provision where you most companies will have a provision where you get what do you call it? Like a budget allocation to spend on learning, so that you're able to buy courses to help you learn XYZ technologies. So I'll say those are like the most common things that would be common in these top companies. And like I said, most of them are really competitive. So even going through an interview process would give you an idea about what to expect in a company. So if you're really not confident, I think the interview process would kick you out. So I feel as much as you make it through a cut through in a company, that means you've hit the minimum requirements that they need from you. So just getting in, onboarding on a team and just free flowing with them should be very easy for you if you just put in the time and the hard work.
Okay, thank you.
Using, yeah, I think Norman just did something interesting. So using someone's library to achieve a task shows how good you are at open sourcing and presenting the idea. It's a whole concept about not rebuilding, but just reusing. So same concept. Any next question?
I think Juma, masaa pia zimenena and I think like maswali zimereduce. So I think Peter is raising a hand. Maybe we'll take Peter's question, then we'll wind up.
Okay, Peter.
Hi, Juma.
Hey, Peter.
Uh, just before we end the meeting, there's something I've remembered. Before pushing an app to market, what are some of the things that are key to check for?
What are the things that key to check for? So so I'd say that depends mostly with the product team. So an example is you work in a specific company, XYZ, and the product team says before we ship out our first version or the second version, we need to have these things done. So from a product side of level, I think just having the product team come up with an MVP that needs to ship out, that's like the first step. So that's the first thing you actually consider. Have we built everything that is required by the product team? If yes, then do all these things pass QA? So QA would be like another thing. And then from an engineering level parts, I mean, you think about things like um, I don't think security really, but just depending on, is it an Android app, is it an iOS app, the like I mean the rest of the process, like signing up, sending the APK, sorry, creating a release, and then shipping it out there. But I would say the key things that you need to check out for are, does it have the MVP or like the minimum required things, and does it pass the QA test? And then now from there, I think you can ship out and then continuously build on top of that.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's a big question on how a normal to a senior dev from the stand-up call to actual code commit. Remember to review what permissions you're requesting the user. Yeah, job is adding some external comments on that. So a big question on our normal day is to a senior dev from the stand-up call to so I think normally for a junior role, I think your day after maybe a stand-up call will be actually writing so much code. And then from a senior engineer point, it would mean just monitor as much as you're writing code, it means monitoring what the juniors are actually doing as well. So you're working with a team, sorry, you're working as a senior engineer, and then you have a junior team that is working on a specific task. So just reaching out to them and seeing what they're working on for progress is actually part of your daily job. I saw someone else raise their hand. I don't know who that was. You can ask your question, and I think we can get a few minutes from Magak. So someone who raised their hand, please. I don't know if they left a call or something. But yeah, so if you don't have any other questions for me, so thank you for joining in. And I know it's a bit late, but asanteni sana.
Okay. I think.
Sorry, Magak, let me answer this last one. So how do you cope with a CTO who's not having the same mindset as you? So like I mentioned, I think there are plenty of opportunities out there for someone. So never ever limit yourself to like a specific company. So if the team or the company or a CTO doesn't reason like you, or they're not really helping you in your personal growth, so I think the best thing for you is to really move into a team that you fit in, because I feel just fitting into a team means you're very productive, and not having to like have head-on collisions with people in the team that are secure, your partners, means you're very productive in your learning. So like I said, please feel free to just leave a company if you feel it doesn't work for you. never ever feel like you were at, well, don't quote me on this, but I feel opportunities out there, and the and I mean, at some point you kind of like fit into a place, so usikae mahali ufinywa sana, please. That's my advice. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Juma, for the session, and at least for everyone who joined and stayed up to this time. Also, thank you. Also, we appreciate this opportunity from Apps Lab organizers this course. So this video will be up on YouTube next week Thursday, and we'll tweet it and share it, and yeah, and look out for more such similar sessions on Android and on the web and every other, just anything in development. Thank you, guys. So